I keep telling y'all, street got no guard. Guards do not look out the street. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail for that pistol. I knew he was going. I just was waiting.
A lot of things this case has stopped me from doing, traveling all across the world, making. So I just want to get it over with, and, you know, accept my guilty plea. I'm ready to get over it.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
Just say a prayer for me. I just need prayer. I don't need nothing else.
Charleston White was celebrating you taking the plea deal. I think he even said he hopes you die in jail and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard.
The biggest thing right now was that you actually accepted a plea deal for your federal gun case.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been fighting this thing from the very, very beginning?
I've been fighting for probably
Charleston White wasted no time capitalizing on Boosie's misfortune. As soon as news surfaced that Boosie could be facing a harsh 10-year sentence in his federal gun case, Charleston went live, laughing as if he'd been anticipating this moment all along. He cracked jokes, flashed a wide grin, and even boasted that he always believed Boosie would end up behind bars. He went so far as to say he wouldn't care if Boosie never got out, treating the situation like it was his own personal victory.
Oh, God is good. I keep telling y'all, street got no guard. Guards do not look out the street. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail for that pistol. I knew he was going. He going to jail. All that newborn baby. Won't get the Boosie, won't get to see that newborn baby till that baby be walking and talking. Boosie going to jail!
Meanwhile, Boosie had already told fans earlier this month that he agreed to a plea deal because he was simply exhausted from fighting the case. He admitted he was worn down, saying he trusted God and believed this was the only option left. Here's the twist. The case had actually been dismissed once before, but prosecutors refused to let go. They came back stronger in 2024 with a new indictment, leaving Boosie facing the possibility of more than 10 years in prison hanging over his head like a dark cloud. So while Boosie was online opening up about his struggles, sharing emotional posts about faith and hardship, Charleston White was celebrating like it was New Year's Eve, mocking, laughing, and treating Boosie's downfall as entertainment. It was cruel, it was messy, and it had the internet buzzing non-stop. For those unfamiliar, Boosie's legal troubles have dragged on for years, but this latest gun charge, felon in possession of a firearm, has officially cornered him. And let's be real, that's a charge you can't just talk your way out of. At first, it seemed like Boosie had escaped the storm. When the case was dismissed in 2023, fans celebrated, believing he could finally focus on his family and music. But that relief didn't last long. In 2024, federal prosecutors returned with a new indictment on the very same charge. It was basically their way of saying, nice try, but we're not done yet. That's when everything fell apart. Boosie broke down and took the plea deal, posting on X that he truly thought the nightmare was over. He wrote, "I thought this case was over and I was going to get on with my life, but God don't make mistakes and I'm tired of fighting." Those words struck differently. This wasn't the tough-talking Boosie known for clapping back at critics or cracking jokes in chaos. This was a man sounding drained, defeated, and almost ready to surrender.
Feds picked it up.
Now, it was a state case. The feds came, picked it up. They had a ruling in the Supreme Court that went in my favor, and the case got dropped by the judge. The case got dropped. I wasn't gonna go to trial with it from the dump, actually, but I feel like this the right move for me. I trust him.
When fans saw Boosie's post, they quickly rushed to show love and support, but the weight behind his words was impossible to ignore. He wasn't just venting. He sounded like someone who knew the walls were finally closing in. For those who had followed him since his Baton Rouge come-up, the moment felt like déjà vu. Boosie had been dodging everything for years. Cases, beefs, even health scares. But this time, the fight felt different. This time, it seemed like the weight of his past had finally caught up with him, leaving no more room to run. And this time, it hit harder. 10 years isn't just a slap on the wrist, it's life-changing. You could feel that reality in every word Boosie typed as fans flooded him with prayers and encouragement. On the other side, Charleston White was grinning like he'd just hit the jackpot. He went live, smiling ear to ear, bragging that he had called it from the very beginning, swearing he always knew Boosie wouldn't escape this case. And now, with the sentence locked in, Charleston is rubbing it in for the world to see. What shocked people most was how far he went. He didn't just mock Boosie, He crossed the line, flat out saying he hopes Boosie never makes it out of jail. Even for Charleston, that was extreme. But then again, this is the same man who built his entire brand on being hip-hop's loudest and most reckless troll. The timing only made it sting worse. Boosie hadn't even had a chance to process the news before Charleston was live streaming, turning his pain into a comedy show. And while Charleston trolls plenty of people, the hate toward Boosie feels different. It feels personal. Every time Boosie runs into legal trouble, Charleston shows up like clockwork, pouring salt into the wound. That's why the real question being asked now is, why does Charleston White hate Boosie so much?
Brought you up because you were attacking Kanye because of the...
Nah, this Kanye West shit just happened. Nigga been coming at me. He been coming at me. It's just, I can't respond to those people, bro. Like, that's a danger to what I got going on. Can't take no risk of losing this shit behind,
People realized Charleston wasn't just another troll.
I ain't really got no opinion on him because, my opinion can send me to prison. So I ain't really, I ain't really got no opinion on him, once you go to threaten people's kids, talking about you gotta lie. So, I ain't the one gonna do all that. I ain't gonna do all that, you know what I'm saying? It's just, hey, certain people you can't really express opinions on, and he one of those. You can't express how you feel because you might end up in prison. I ain't getting tricked off the street.
Turns out this beef has history. It goes back to late 2022 when Kanye West stirred up chaos by wearing that infamous White Lives Matter shirt. Boosie called Kanye out, saying he was disrespecting black people, and most fans agreed with him. But Charleston wasn't having it. He jumped online, blasting Boosie for even daring to speak on Kanye. From that moment, the feud was lit like gasoline on fire. Then things went completely left. Instead of keeping his shots aimed at Boosie, Charleston dragged his son, 2Ty Raw, into the drama, and even threw T.I.'s son, King Harris, under the bus. He didn't hold back either. Charleston clowned them, calling them ugly, saying they couldn't fight, and even predicting they'd end up locked up just like their fathers. That's when people realized Charleston wasn't the average troll. He was willing to cross any line, even targeting kids just to strike a nerve with their parents. The wildest part? Boosie didn't explode the way fans expected. Many thought he'd snap instantly, but instead, he stayed calm. During an interview with Tony the Closer, Boosie explained why he refused to go off, making it clear that talking too much could easily land him back behind bars, especially with kids involved. He knew Charleston was baiting him into saying something reckless, and he wasn't about to give the feds more ammunition. That moment showed another side of Boosie. He wasn't scared of Charleston, he was smart enough to recognize the trap. So instead of letting his emotions take over, he kept his response measured and stayed cool on the surface. But make no mistake, the tension was bubbling underneath. By early 2023, the feud was on fire. Charleston was already trolling T.I. over his infamous paperwork party when Boosie's son, 2Ty, decided he'd had enough. 2Ty clapped back hard, calling Charleston old, messy, and even telling him to go die. But Charleston, being Charleston, didn't just respond. He cranked it up 10 levels, turning the feud into something much uglier than anyone expected.
Fight for Boosie, you done got too much. You done let these niggas play you too motherfuckers. Internet book dominant. Say what little Tootie gonna do now? What little say? Listen, Vlad TV. Vlad ain't for Vlad post everybody going to jail, but
Charleston White took things to a disturbing new low when he went live and said, "I hope your daddy dies from that diabetes. I hope they don't even send his insulin for a month." Like, who even says that? He basically wished sickness on Boosie just to tear down his son, 2Ty. And as if that wasn't messy enough, 2Ty was arrested later that same month on gun charges, and Charleston wasted no time claiming credit. He bragged on camera about snitching to police, sending in pictures, and even tipping off the Department of Public Safety. He went as far as to say cops were already watching 2Ty because Boosie was a 6-time convicted murderer who used kids to do his dirty work. That's when people realized this wasn't trolling anymore. Charleston was dragging the beef into real life with real consequences that could put people behind bars. And it didn't stop there. Not even 3 months later, Boosie himself was arrested in San Diego right after court hearing. Before he could even process what was happening, Charleston was back online, laughing like it was a holiday. He went live comparing the arrest to God's plan, saying Boosie was like Daniel in the lion's den, chosen to suffer just to prove a point. But let's be real, Charleston wasn't preaching. He twisted Boosie's arrest into a fake sermon, mocking his downfall and calling it divine punishment. To him, Boosie's pain was entertainment, and he was more than happy to play pastor while the internet tuned in. Fans couldn't even tell if he was serious or just trolling, but either way, the disrespect was off the charts. Months later, Boosie finally addressed it during his Vlad TV sit-down. He admitted he didn't even want Vlad interviewing Charleston because of the disgusting things Charleston had said about his son, Ty. Once again, Boosie made it clear he wasn't scared of Charleston. His only focus was staying free. He said it himself. But no matter how cool Boosie tried to play it, you could see it in his face. Charleston was living rent-free in his head. And that's exactly the kind of psychological warfare Charleston thrives on, turning beef into a mind game.
In jail, waiting for the FBI to send me the right kind of number, because I'm finna make a report on your mother people. And you make the man call your name specifically. The promoter specifically said your mother ain't Lil Boosie. He implemented you and implicated you. Finna go to jail, back to jail. You gonna be on your knees, but the knee gonna be.
Then came early 2024, when the drama spilled even deeper into internet culture. Aiden Ross was supposed to have Boosie on his live stream, but Boosie backed out. He didn't want to deal with Charleston's shadow. That's when Aiden flipped the script, claiming he had turned Boosie down out of loyalty to Charleston White. The lie spread like wildfire, and the internet ate it up, until DJ Vlad stepped in and dragged Aiden for siding with a man who once praised Hitler and denied the Holocaust. Vlad called it exactly what it was, pure clout chasing. That whole fiasco showed just how far Charleston's shadow had stretched. His name had become currency, even for young streamers desperate to trend. And of course, Charleston kept milking it. By March, he was back online claiming Boosie had told promoters not to book him. Instead of brushing it off, Charleston spun it into another full-blown rant, bragging that he'd already reached out to the feds and was ready to get Boosie locked up over what he called threats. Charleston wasn't just trolling anymore, he was weaponizing the system itself. And he didn't stop at legal shots. He dragged Boosie's health into it, making the insults cut even deeper. He went live again, swearing up and down that he'd get Boosie jammed up through the FBI. The wild part? He had no evidence, no paperwork, nothing at all to back it up. But Charleston understands the power of saying things loud and confidently. Once the words are out there, they stick. Boosie himself admitted that guys already locked up had been calling him, clowning and asking when he was finally going to join the party. Imagine that, already staring down a federal sentence, and inmates are joking on you before you even step foot in the yard. Straight up humiliating. And Charleston knows exactly how to twist the knife to make the sting worse.
I'm a street kid. I'm not a criminal. I'm a kid who was raised to tell the truth. When my mama come in and say, son, what happened? Mama, I didn't do that. I got to pay for a lawyer. I got 2 lawyers, Carl Mallory and Louis Stearns. Louis Stearns became Judge Stearns, Judge Louis Stearns. But nigga, I had 2 paid for lawyers. My mama is a well-to-do mama. I'm just playing, I ain't playing. I'm an adolescent going through an adolescent stage of rebelliousness. I ain't no street. Hell yeah, I'm gonna tell on you. I've been telling since I was a little bitty boy.
Behind the scenes, another angle has people talking. Boosie didn't even attempt to take this case to trial. He went straight for the plea deal. And honestly, can you blame him? Imagine if, by some wild twist, Charleston White had actually shown up in that courtroom. You already know he would have turned it into a circus, testifying with theatrics, pointing fingers for the cameras, then running straight to the blogs the second he stepped outside. And let's be real, it's not far-fetched. Charleston has a long history of snitching and has never been shy about admitting it. According to sources, when Charleston was just 14, he got caught up in a robbery with other teens. During that robbery, one of them, Antoine Doolittle, pulled the trigger and shot a man named Michael Levi. That moment became the start of Charleston's reputation for telling, and has leaned on it ever since. When the case hit the courtroom, Charleston White actually testified against his own crew. And in street culture, that's the one sin nobody forgets. Even though he was just a kid, people still drag him non-stop for telling on one of his own. But Charleston doesn't hide from it. He doubles down. 4 years, He's defended himself, saying, "I was young. I was in court. I told the truth. That's not snitching. That's survival." That's how Charleston justifies it in his own words. Here's the twist, though. Recently, old footage from that juvenile case resurfaced, and the internet exploded all over again. People instantly called him a hypocrite, clowning him for preaching street code one day while bragging about testifying the next. Social media lit up with the same line over and over: "You can't call other rappers rats when you proudly admit you did the same thing." Instead of backing down, Charleston went even further. He claimed he never lived by any street code and doesn't care who's mad. Which is wild, because this is the same man who built a career calling rappers snitches, all while wearing his own testimony like a badge of honor. And that's exactly why so many people believe Boosie skipped trial and went straight for the plea deal. The last thing he wanted was a courtroom circus with Charleston White somehow in the mix. Think about it, this is the same guy who brags about calling the cops, setting people up, and testifying as a teenager. If Charleston had even a sliver of a chance to step into that courtroom, you already know he would have turned it into his own personal show. Picture this, Charleston pointing fingers at Boosie, cracking jokes in front of the jury, then hopping on live right after to say, "I helped put Boosie away." That's not exaggeration, that's exactly how Charleston plays the game. And it's why his name still makes rappers sweat today. Right now, Charleston White is celebrating louder than ever. To him, this isn't just another rapper getting caught up, it's karma. It's the moment he's been waiting for. Proof that all the clowning, mocking, and trolling he's been spewing for years was right all along. In his eyes, Boosie's downfall is the ultimate validation of everything he's been shouting from his live streams. And when you connect the dots, it almost feels calculated. The beef that started back in 2022, the shots at 2Ty, the endless trolling, the arrests, the snitching stories. It all looks like Charleston has been sitting back, waiting, maybe even praying, for this exact moment. A moment where Boosie is staring down the cold reality of a 10-year stretch. Right now, Boosie isn't behind bars just yet. But that plea deal on the table makes one thing clear: the threat is real, and the walls are closing in. While Boosie wrestles with that weight, Charleston is online acting like he's already won the championship belt. He's clowning harder than ever, while the streets are divided, half laughing along with him, the other half holding their breath to see if the hammer actually drops. And here's the part that stings most. If Charleston is this reckless while Boosie is still technically free, just imagine the circus he'll create if Boosie actually gets sentenced. What do you think? Will Boosie beat the odds? Or is Charleston about to get the victory lap he's been dreaming of? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next wild twist in this saga.